We are all creative. Let's disrupt what we consider normal and lean into the ripples of change that are already in motion. Welcome to Embrace the Mess. Ko Tabitha aho. I'm Tabitha, and we can change the world by practicing imperfect action, compassion, and connection. No mai haere mai e te whānau. Welcome to episode tuarua, the second episode of Embrace the Mess. Today I'm going to discuss discomfort. So we're going to go through recognizing discomfort, long-term discomfort versus short-term discomfort, the relationship between discomfort and fear, and how discomfort can actually help us grow. But first, I have a couple of what's on in Poneke announcements. So of course, Sense and Sensibility is at Circa Theatre at the moment. So it's a play adapted and directed by the legend and incredible artist herself, Penny Ashton. It is a show where 6 spectacular women take on 24 characters. And one of my favorite quotes from the show is, "What point is there to life but to share one's joys?" So they have shows from Tuesday to Sunday every week until they close on the 3rd of August, and that's at Circa Theatre. Dr. Reknaw single release party with Casual Healing and DJ Amira, celebrating Dr. Reknaw's single release Sisters of the Plant on August 2nd at San Fran. It's going to be a gorgeous night. I will see you there. Links to the tickets for both of these shows will be in the show notes. Okay, let's talk discomfort. So, obviously, traditionally, discomfort is something that we do not like doing. It is something that has a negative connotation to it. Negative reaction is really common to discomfort. And those reactions come from survival tactics that we have learned 50,000 years ago, again, to keep us alive. And the brain is always trying to search for homeostasis to keep us comfortable. So when we come up against something that creates discomfort within us, our immediate reaction is to be like, no, I don't like that. Yuck, I don't want it. And there's obviously lots of different types of discomfort. There's physical discomfort. For example, when you're too hot and you want to take your jumper off, or you're too cold and you need to put some clothes on. Emotional discomfort, when like I'm angry at you for ignoring me, so I'm gonna do what I can to change this because I'm uncomfortable here. Social discomfort, like being in a room where there's a lot of people that you don't know or that you're unfamiliar with. Sensory discomfort, like this noise is too loud, I need to get away from it, this is making me uncomfortable. And then there's lots of branches under those, and each one of those discomforts is obviously on a spectrum as well. There's the discomfort of change. For example, this is new and I don't know what is going to happen. This is the unknown and I'm unsure. I haven't been here before. So there's lots of different types of discomfort. One that we are talking a lot about today and focusing more on is the discomfort of change. And when you're coming up against something that you haven't done before or that you want to do, but it's new. And I was like, oh, why don't I want to do it? I want to do it, but I don't want to do it because it's uncomfortable. And they all link back together. I think they're all connected, just like so many things in this life. Essentially, anytime we are doing something that we don't like, is challenging, don't want to do in that moment for any particular reason, or something that is new or different. And we've all felt this discomfort. But obviously, if we're doing this thing that is uncomfortable, then it's something we were wanting to do in the first place. So how do we get through this discomfort? So I just want to be clear here with a couple of things before we go any further. What I am talking about is the discomfort that we are in control of. For example, when you want to change a habit or make a new habit, you're going to experience some discomfort through that change. We're literally building new pathways in the brain when we do that. And imagine like trying to build a road through a bunch of mud. Like you got to dig through, you really got to put those bricks down. Like our neurons are like building actual pathways that weren't there before. So that is difficult. So it's like when you're wanting to practice something, for example, a new instrument, you don't just pick up a new instrument and you can play it. No matter how much you want to be incredible at the saxophone, it's going to be difficult when you pick it up. So that's what I am talking about, the discomfort that we are in control of. What I'm not talking about is the discomfort that is causing you or others around you pain or harm. For example, when you're around someone who is unsafe and there are alarm bells going off in your body and your mind saying, get out of there, get out, listen to them. Those alarm bells and those things we have all through our body and our mind, that's our survival instincts being like, you are unsafe right now. Also, a fitness example is if you have an injury, then working out or going for a run is not going to be comfortable because you don't need to work out or go for a run right now. It's because you need to rest that part of your body so that you can work out or go for a run in the future. Otherwise, if you're not doing your healing now and you're just making it worse, you're not going to be able to work out soon, you know? So first, before we go any further, safety should be the first question. Am I safe? Before going through any discomfort, will this action harm myself or anyone around me? That's number one. Will this cause me or those around me any kind of harm? Right. So we need discomfort. Discomfort is, the mud that we have to wade through to go to the other side of the river where the sunshine is. But if we stay on this side of the river, like if you're happy on that side of the river, then like, all good, like you chill, like you're having a great time. But discomfort and challenge is this side of the balance before we get to learn new things and experience new things on the other side. Discomfort is needed for the growth. When you practice something, and I'm not a neuroscientist, guys, but Dr. Andrew Huberman and Alexis Fernandez have my heart in the neuroscience field at the moment. So I will link them in the show notes. But when you practice something that you have never practiced before, or you haven't in a long time, you are literally building new pathways in your brain. You're building pathways that may have never existed before or may have deteriorated and you have to rebuild them. It's like gardening, I think about it. I want to be a great gardener, but I haven't put in the time, challenge, and learning and failure to be a good gardener yet. I've planted some plants and I've learned some things and I've failed a few times, and that's really good because I've learned lots, but I've got to, if I want to be amazing, it's not going to happen overnight. And especially with an example like gardening, you know, you have the seasons to account for and things take time and you have to plant them and then wait and nurture them and etc. etc. It's like building your muscles in the gym. You can't do one workout and expect to be yoked. It doesn't happen. So just like the neural pathways in your brain, building new pathways, you have to build those muscle fibers up. In the gym, you have to do exercises repetitively, consistently. You have to keep working at it until you can even notice any difference and until your muscle memory begins and your body becomes used to it. And then, you know, you have to up the weight and you have to keep going so you can build all those fibers up. It's like training your vocal cords to sing a new song. It's hard because you have to practice and you have to try again and fail and try again and fail. Learning a new choreography, your body needs to get used to that and know when the steps are before you can just do it off the bat. It takes consistency, practice, and mistakes. So this discomfort is needed for growth, right? That makes sense. And we can't change that. But what we can change is the way in which we view that discomfort and how much we want to fight it or embrace it or vice versa. So the question is, what do we want more? Do we want to stay where we are, or do we want to be on the other side of that discomfort, knowing that we've gotten through it and holding all that new knowledge? And I think some things I want to change now, some things I want to grow now, and they're, you know, more important for me to sit through this discomfort. And some things I'm like, I'm not ready to go through that discomfort yet. And that's also fine. Like, everything will happen in time. We can only hold a certain amount of things at once. But in that moment where you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, I'm like, but I do want to do this. I want to be on the other side of this thing. I want to figure this out and see what happens and see how I can grow and who I can be and what I can accomplish. But right now, it's kind of annoying to do. But like, if we can change and harness that little voice that says, I don't really feel like it, and do it anyway, even when we don't feel like it, we could be unstoppable. We could do all the things that we want to do in the world. Short-term discomfort versus long-term discomfort. So sometimes we get to make choices with our discomfort, especially if it is something that we're safe in and something that we want to do for ourselves. We get to choose whether we fight it or we embrace it. And that doesn't mean we have to do it happily. I can do the dishes angrily. And then after I do the dishes, I'm like, I'm glad I did the dishes. I feel better. So we get to choose, pretty much. There's a book called Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, and I will link it in the show notes. It taught me that I can choose. I can either resist the current place that I'm in, whether I'm unhappy or uncomfortable or feeling like I want to do something else. I can resist that and be like, oh no, I don't want to move, and invite in all of this tension and resistance that makes me feel worse. Or I can accept the current situation exactly as it already exists so that I can use all that extra energy to take a step to change it if I'm uncomfortable where I am. I can choose to be a little bit uncomfortable right now and start that thing that I've been meaning to do. And sure, maybe it's like, oh, okay, I gotta do it, just get it done. And I'm not like ecstatic about it, sure. Or I can choose the long-term discomfort, which is where I put off the thing that I want to do for so long that it just drags out and then I feel worse in the future. That's my decision. And fitness is a great example of this, health, fitness, and mental health. I can be comfortable doing nothing right now and staying in what I know, but that may lead to complications down the line. That may lead to suppression of my emotions that pops up in any kind of way in the future, or physical health deterioration in the future. Versus I could be uncomfortable now during my therapy session, or exercising for 45 minutes, or talking to a friend about what I really need, and then later, which is probably going to be quite soon after anyway, feel relief and even joy, and I can be proud of myself. In terms of soul projects, I could be comfortable dreaming about what I could do, what I could create. And that would be nice. It's nice to dream, and it's important. It's very important to dream. But without the action, in the future, I might feel like I missed out on the time that I could have done that. Or someone else could execute a similar idea and I could be jealous of them, and that would bring bitterness. Or I would feel that I missed out on seeing what I could have made if I followed those dreams, what could have become. Versus if I'm uncomfortable now, but I figure something out and I start something, yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to be difficult. But soon I will have put things into practice, and it may feel like second nature, and I will be able to see what those fruits are of things, of seeds that I planted in the ground, because I planted them and I watered them. And sure, maybe they won't work out, but I won't be saying what if in the future. I'll be saying, did that, tried that, proud of that, moving on. So it's a choice. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the great David Goggins. He is an athlete, an ultramarathon runner, and a public speaker. He's a person who has overcome a lot in his life. His childhood was full of poverty and prejudice, a very, very hard young life. He's written 2 books now. His book, Can't Hurt Me, is one that is really based on the fact that we are all living at about 40% of our capacity. He says that we all make habitual self-limiting choices, as this is what we're used to. And I might not agree with all of his approaches all the time, but I do love his approach that we are all capable of way more than we think we are. I do believe that. And that we should strive for living a life that we are proud of, however that may be. But in saying that, it is also important to hold something that I talked about in my last episode about rest, as we talk about this short-term discomfort, as you can be a hard worker, but you don't have to overwork yourself. You can go through this discomfort now so that later you can rest, but it's up to you to decide in which order you want to do those and which one is right for you now, because there is no map. There is no instruction guide. Only you can know if you are living authentically to yourself and to your values and to what you want. And we can say on the surface that we are, and I am absolutely guilty of this, but there's something in you that grows when you deny a part of yourself, and it gets bigger and bigger until you do something about it. And you are capable of doing difficult things. You've been through them before. You can do them again. You are capable of doing what you want. It is possible. We've just been fed these lies that it's not possible to be happy, essentially. It's a crazy world. And pain is inevitable in this world. And there is a lot of pain and suffering all around us every day. And it's hard to know how to function, especially when there's a genocide still happening in Gaza. There is pain around us all the time. But what we do get to decide is what our actions are. And our actions have reactions. And then those people's reactions have other reactions and so on. Your action will spark someone else's action. But doing nothing and being paralyzed by this idea of doing something perfectly, that's just upholding what already exists. So doing nothing isn't actually doing nothing. It's supporting what is already in place. Okay, so how do I tell what sort of discomfort I'm experiencing? Similarly to my last episode, practice. What works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. But sharing our practices with each other and trying things, doing the practice, drawing on the connection from each other, sharing, that gives us platforms to jump off to find our own way. It gives us ideas on what to try next and encouragement to try them. And importantly, it shows us what is not our way. So just as brilliant as it is when you get an idea from someone, you're like, that's what I want to do. Yes. I find it just as helpful when you get an idea from someone and you're like, that's good to know that that's not what I want to do. That's absolutely not the one. So I'm just as grateful for those things that aren't my way. But I have a few statements that help me figure out what kind of discomfort I'm experiencing. And first, before anything else, is this situation that I'm in and this action I'm about to do, is it causing me or the people around me any kind of harm? So am I safe? Am I safe and other people around me safe? That's number one. Number two is, where am I feeling this discomfort? Is it in my head, my thoughts? Is it in my belly? Is it in my body? Which really helps me ground myself and feel present. So that gives me a space that I can think clearly from and feel clearly from. So where am I feeling this discomfort is number two. Number three is, do I have expectations of myself? Am I comparing myself before I've even done anything? This one's important to me because it really breaks up all of the kind of flooding thoughts that I'm having, or it really makes the discomfort feel more in my vision and less encompassing my entire being. And it makes me kind of go, oh, okay, maybe this discomfort is coming from myself. And it's actually just coming from the fact that I'm saying that I'm not good enough to myself unless I do ABC. But really, anything that I'm doing, if I'm doing the thing that I want to be doing, I'm doing the thing that I love, I'm doing the thing that's going to bring me joy in the future, it doesn't matter how I do it. It doesn't matter if I do it faster than yesterday or slower than yesterday or whatever. The point is I'm doing it. And any comparison is just coming from the unhealthy way that we've been conditioned. Number 3 is, do I have expectations of myself? Am I comparing myself? Number 4 is, if I choose to stop and to not continue through this discomfort, will I feel better? Will that bring me a sense of relief? Or will I feel like I could have put more of myself into that thing that I was doing? Will I feel relief if I stop? Or will I feel like I missed out on putting my whole being into that? So an example here is when you're making a boundary with maybe a friend or a family member. Making a boundary is uncomfortable, and it's also very difficult. Again, we're not very practiced. We haven't been encouraged. This is a new thing for me anyway, in my experience. Boundaries are quite a recent discussion in the last few years of my life anyway. Telling someone that you love that no, actually what is happening is not okay, that's tough because it's new. And we're unsure what the future will be like, of course, because we've never been there before. But in the situation that you are in right now, before you make that boundary, if that situation is already causing you harm, then doing nothing will only lead to more pain and discomfort in the long term. And the irony here is we are fearful of making a boundary with someone we love because it might change the relationship, but actually when we don't make a boundary, it's already changing the relationship. It's already gonna send that relationship into a bitter place because we didn't get to be honest with ourselves and with them. And I used to think that respect was being polite and having manners. But respect is being honest with people and yourself. I woke up one day and I was like, if I'm not making boundaries, one, I'm not respecting myself, but coming from a recovering people pleaser here, I'm also not respecting you because I'm not being honest with you. So now this is not an honest relationship. So you get to decide. You get to decide whether you want short-term discomfort or long-term discomfort. And you are capable of doing those hard things. You have the ability to take action in your life, and only you can know and decide what type of discomfort it is that you are experiencing. But discomfort is a universal experience. And we need it to grow. It's a balance. It's like, do the hard thing now for the growth and the wisdom later. Do the mahi get the treats, if you will. Clothing is one of the many ways we get to express ourselves. But did you know every year about 180,000 tons of clothing and textile waste is thrown away into landfills in Aotearoa? That's almost 6,500 shipping containers per year. The fast fashion industry doesn't just contribute to waste either. It also contributes to human rights abuse, chemical pollution, water waste, clothing colonization. But there are things we can do about it. We can buy ethical, sustainable, and local where we can. But hey, in this economy, I don't got the dollars to do that all the time. Luckily, there are cheaper ways to slow things down. There are so many affordable second-hand options these days, and in Pōneke too. Shops like Recycle Boutique, Save Mart, and Op Shops are everywhere. There's also online resources like Depop, Designer Wardrobe, and Facebook Marketplace. And of course, borrowing things from your friends. Do I still catch unconscious bias sneaking in towards buying secondhand because capitalism makes me think I'm not good enough unless I've got the shiny new cool thing with the fancy tags? Yeah. But more often than not, I love buying secondhand. And one of my favorite things about it is it's like finding treasure. When you find that incredible vintage that fits you perfectly, oh, it's good. So let's slow down the exploitative fast fashion industry by buying secondhand. Links are in the show notes for more information. Okay, discomfort and fear. This is one of my favorite things to explore because I find that fear lives in the peripheral of our vision. It's so scary because we can't see what it is. So as soon as we acknowledge that it's fear and we bring it to the front, it's automatically less scary, for me anyway. So a lot of the time when I'm experiencing discomfort with something that I want to do, and I've established that I'm safe, and I've established that this is something that I will feel good about doing after it, I'm like, okay, what's left? Usually it's fear. It's fear of the unknown, fear that I won't do it, quote unquote, well, fear that I will fail, fear that I'm not good enough, or fear that I'm not worth doing this thing. And all of those fears, they're either living in the future of the idea of who I think I want to be, or they're living in the past of who that I think I am or who I thought I was. But the future is actually completely uncertain, and the past has already happened. So come back to the now, and I take it one step at a time. And sometimes through gritted teeth, absolutely. Like I went for a run for the first time the other day. Amazing. So uncomfortable. Well, the first little bit was, and then as I kept going, I was like, this is actually all good. It was only 2.6 Ks, but we'll talk about that on another podcast. And it ended up being fun. So sometimes it's through gritted teeth, absolutely, because it's new and I'm building those neural pathways. I'm practicing, I'm doing something hard. But if I know I'm safe, then I know the fear is the hurdle that I must go over to grow. So this is what I do when I'm noticing that I'm uncomfortable and I don't want to do the thing that I really want to do. I come back to my breath and ground myself, and that helps me confirm that I'm safe. Physiologically safe in my body, as well as mentally safe. I'm not going somewhere unsafe in my mind or my emotions. I notice what I'm feeling in my body. Okay, I'm a little bit tired, maybe. Maybe I can't wait to go to bed later. Maybe I'm a little bit hungry. Maybe I need a drink of water first. Okay, so my body is safe. I'm giving it what it needs, but I'm still uncomfortable. Then I identify what I'm scared of. If I'm scared of anything. Am I scared of the comparison? Am I scared of injury? Am I scared of failure, etc.? And once I've identified those, I'm like, okay, I know how to avoid these or disregard them if they're irrelevant. So I think about what I would gain from taking just one baby step. If I did one of those things on that list in that hour, or I did one 30-second sprint, or I did one 5-minute walk, or I wrote one piece of my script, one line, I would gain something and I would feel proud. And that's where the comparison thing gets eradicated and we can blow it out of the water because we did something. And that's better than doing nothing and sitting in the paralysis of comparing, right? So I identify what I'm scared of. I think about what I would gain from taking one baby step. And then I identify whether I will feel better on the other side of doing this one baby step or if I will feel worse. And if I feel worse, I'm not going to do it, right? But if I'm going to feel any kind of better, even just grateful that I tried and that I learned something from trying, I'm going to do it. And we won't get it right every time. Sometimes I actually do need to have a rest, and I didn't know that, and I pushed myself too hard. And then I figured that out by trying it. And then next time, I can try again and listen to my body again, and I will be better at listening to it because I'm building up the practice. Trying it out is how we learn to trust ourselves. If I'm telling myself all the time that I'm not good enough to do the things I want to do, that I'm not worthy enough, that is the habit that I'm going to grow That is the seed that I am watering. But if I tell myself I can do the hard things, even though they might be slower than my idea of what doing them perfectly is, or smaller, or take longer, even though they're going to be hard, but I tell myself I can do them, then that is the habit that I'm going to grow. That is the tree that's going to grow because I'm watering the one that says I can do it on my time, on my schedule, in my capacity. Okay, I feel like we've already touched on this throughout the discussion anyway, but how discomfort can help us grow. When I feel scared of doing something, but I still want to do that thing even though I am scared, to me that's a sign that there is growth on the other side of that thing. Because if I'm scared of something and I decide not to do it and then I never think about it again, then obviously it wasn't that important and I didn't really want to do it. But if I have discomfort in the idea of doing it, but I still can't stop thinking about it, then obviously that's what I want. Obviously that's what I want to get through. We can use this discomfort as a key to know what to work towards. We can use the fear as a key to say on the other side of that is the growth. If that thing is coming from love and joy and adventure, and it's not harming anyone in the process, and it's not harming myself, and I'm scared anyway, but I'm still thinking about it, then that's what I want to do. But if it's coming from self-sabotage or any kind of forceful thing, then that's a different thing. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about when something is coming from joy, creativity, curiosity, compassion, love, then that's the direction I want to go in, even if it's scary. There's a part of your brain, again, not a neuroscientist over here, not claiming to be, but there is a part of your brain that grows when we do difficult things. And we have to keep practicing doing hard things to grow and upkeep that part of our brain. It doesn't just stay there. It's where we keep willpower, I think about it like. I think it's called the anterior mid-cingulate. And the more we do hard things, the more we grow that part of our brain. And the more we grow our willpower so that we can get better and better at being like, yep, I'm scared, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it. Let's do it. Instead of waiting and umming and ahhing about what to do next and putting things off and not living the life that we want to live, but we got to start. We got to do. So don't let the illusion of perfection keep you from doing your thing. Perfection is, by definition, ironically, to do something with a wholeness, with your whole authentic self. I love the irony in that because perfection is something that capitalism leads us to think we're aspiring to be like, when actually we are already our whole authentic selves. And capitalism has made us think that we're not good enough, so we have to change ourselves to reach some other kind of perfect thing that's over there, when actually we are already whole and good enough and incredible, beautiful beings of a million stories and experiences and lineages. The irony. But that's why I'm starting to practice imperfection. I'm going to switch that up to get better at doing things that I want to do, regardless of comparing them to someone else doing them or how they've been done in the past. So that in 50 years, I'm going to be so proud of all the perfectly imperfect things that I got to experience doing. And the funny thing in that is that starting this mindset of practicing imperfect action, I already feel proud. I feel like I haven't even done anything yet, but just the mindset switch that it's had. So use that discomfort as a key. Don't run away from it. See it, experience it, decide either are you going towards it or are you switching it up and going to do something else. Like either is fine. It's all fine. It's all okay. But we can use the experience as something that can help us grow. The only way we fail anything is if we stop trying. If we stop trying to do the thing that we want in our hearts to do, that is the only way we fail. Everything else is learning and growth. I'm going to leave you with this quote from the great Maya Angelou. Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. Thank you for lending me your ears and your invaluable attention. If you have any feedback, corrections, or you would like me to give a shout out to your upcoming creative project, no mai ngā pātai, no mai ngā kōrero, send me a DM on Instagram, please, I love it, at etm.pod, or email me at tabitha.etm.pod@gmail.com. If you would like to support this podcast, please share it to anyone who you think might like the yarns, and chuck me a follow on Instagram at etm.pod. And together, let us all practice imperfect action and authenticity. Ka kite anō.